Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. All right, folks, let's get right into this video. It's an extremely important video. And as you know, there is mayhem at FEMA, at HHS, and the CDC. Additionally, they are experiencing severe defunding, right? Trump is cutting all sorts of things at these agencies. And regarding FEMA specifically, Trump is trying to eliminate it. We're going to read a couple of articles in just a moment, one of which has to do with FEMA. And with the CDC, they are firing or pressuring the medical experts and the scientists to leave, to resign. And all of this could spell serious trouble for Black Americans. And here's why. Systemic and structural racism makes a crisis even worse for marginalized groups. Hey, family. Do you believe in the work we're doing? Does our content speak to you? Do you appreciate our in-depth legal analysis and political commentary from an African-American perspective? Do you believe it matters to our community? Then don't just watch from the sidelines. Please click that membership button and become a member of the 2% Club today. That's right, we need just 2% of our subscribers to become channel members. For just $4.99 a month, that's less than 20 cents a day, you'll help us keep creating powerful content that defends our democracy, demands justice, and develops a strong African-American community. But if you want more, at $9.99 a month, which is only 33 cents a day, you'll get access to exclusive members-only live streams, bonus content, and behind-the-scenes updates. And for just $14.99 a month, which is under 50 cents a day, our top-tier members get access to live Zoom calls, strategy sessions, and a direct voice in shaping this movement. We're not just building a YouTube channel. Folks, we're building a movement based on righteousness and justice, just what our community needs in a time of disinformation and division. So if you believe in what we're doing, click the membership button and join now. Become a member of the 2% Club today. Let's build something powerful together, especially Blacks. For example, when adjusted for age, Blacks are 3.8 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than their white counterparts. 3.8 times. And when Katrina hit 20 years ago, this week, and shout out to all of the family there in Louisiana, New Orleans specifically, we know what you went through 20 years ago, and we are trying to learn the lessons that we learned from Katrina when all of that happened. But anyway, 20 years ago, this week, Black residents who lived in New Orleans, lowest and least protected areas, suffered the worst housing destruction. And we know almost 2,000 people died from Katrina. When those levees broke, I remember when they made the announcement, it brought pandemonium to that city. A lot of destruction, a lot of death. So once again, our heart goes out to you. And now look at FEMA's response over the past year to these disasters. The one we recently had in Texas and the one we had back in North Carolina a few months ago. FEMA did not perform well at all. At all. So what does all that tell us? It tells us a number of things, but we Blacks, it tells us that we better get prepared. With Trump trying to shut down FEMA and getting rid of the experts at the CDC, we need to be prepared because The mayhem is likely to worsen, right? And we're not going to be able to depend on the government to come and make everything right. So we need to get prepared ahead of these disasters and pandemics and so forth. I mean, things like buying a generator, flashlights, having an evacuation plan, being a part of a group or a community. I mean, so many things that you can do to be prepared for these natural disasters before they occur so that, you're not caught off guard. And so that if the government doesn't get to you, you got some ways that you can still eat, you can still lighten your house, you can still get food. By the way, another thing to do is keep some cash. Keep some cash always, especially if there is some sort of disaster looming. Make sure you got some cash. Because again, with FEMA basically getting eliminated, possibly, very possibly, then we need to be able to help ourselves for a few days until things can try to get back to some sort of normalcy. And with the CDC, the thing you need to do there, in my opinion, is not trust very much of what the CDC is saying on its website, and instead consult with your PCP, your primary care physician. And if you don't have a primary care physician, this is a great time to establish a relationship with a PCP, a primary care physician. I just would not take very seriously the stuff that is on the CDC website. It's my understanding that the person who's going to replace the last batch of doctors and scientists and experts who left is not even a physician. I don't know if he'll be there permanently or temporarily, but I would get information from my PCP. And you probably need to make sure that PCP is not a part of MAGA. All right. So, yeah, I mean, RFK Jr. is not a doctor, and he's doing what the medical and scientific community, most of them think is just Looney Tunes. So get your information regarding public health and your personal health and so forth. Get it from your PCP. All right, so let's read a couple of articles, and I want you to see where we are. Can't read them all, but we can read enough for me to show you why this is such a grave concern for many Black people. All right, so let's go and read a little bit of this FEMA article. Actually, it's a letter that was written by current, I think, and former FEMA employees, and they are expressing their disagreement with the way Trump is handling FEMA. All right, so this is Stand Up for Science, the FEMA Katrina Declaration. In response to the Trump administration's dismantling, cuts, and devastating attacks on FEMA programs and missions, we are proud to host and publish their Katrina Declaration below. Please read their declaration below and join with us by adding your name to our statement of solidarity and support for the brave dissenters of the FEMA Katrina Declaration here. All right, so let's jump down and read some of this letter. 2. Members of Federal Emergency Management Agency Review Council, CCC, to all of these congressional committees and subcommittees and so forth. So we'll jump down where it says 20 years ago. All right, 20 years ago, Hurricane Katrina made landfall along the Gulf Coast as a Category 3 hurricane, claiming an estimated 1,833 lives, leaving millions homeless and causing approximately $161 billion in damage. Hurricane Katrina was not just a natural disaster, but a man-made one. The inexperience of senior leaders and the profound failure by the federal government to deliver timely, unified, and effective aid to those in need left survivors to fend for themselves for days and highlighted how, watch this, Black, indigenous, and low-income communities are disproportionately affected by disasters. So there, I want you to get that. And this is the why I'm making this. This is the reason I'm making this video. Because what's the old saying? When America catches a cold, Black people catch pneumonia. So when a hurricane or a pandemic, some sort of an emergency or crisis hits America, it hits Black America the hardest. So we got to take upon ourselves the responsibility to try to be ready so that we're not so dependent upon the government, right? A generator, for example, is a huge thing to have when a natural disaster looms. I used to live, in fact, I was raised up on the coastal, East Coast, coastal part of North Carolina. And so I have been through, I can't count, 40, 50 hurricanes in my lifetime, as well as a massive flooding event several times. And a generator is your best friend. Now, if you live in an area where there are not a lot of hurricanes, okay, I get it. Maybe not invest in a generator, but everyone else, if you're in those regions, definitely so. That's anywhere from Florida up to at least Virginia. But that Florida to Carolina stretch, definitely. All right. But there are also tornadoes, like here in Texas. I mean, tornadoes are just as, if not more devastating than hurricanes. Doesn't affect as many people, but the devastation is catastrophic with those strong winds. A hurricane, gets up to 140, 150 miles per hour, category 5, but these tornadoes, 200 miles per hour, 210, 220, just rip stuff apart. And if there's no FEMA, what are you going to do? Most states don't have an adequate emergency response infrastructure in place. So make sure you have these things, some of these things, in your home, because again, if you're Black, if you're indigenous, low income, and some of our family are both, right? Black and low income, and some indigenous. Shout out to the indigenous community who follows the channel. These failures prompted Congress, as well as Latinos. Latinos get hit just as hard too, quite often. Okay, I'm not trying to leave out the Latino brothers and sisters. All right, these failures prompted Congress to pass the Post-Katrina Emergency Management Reform Act of 2006, which introduced safeguards to ensure such shortcomings of disaster preparation or response would not be repeated. However, 2 decades later, FEMA is enacting processes and leadership structures that echo the condition FEMA was designed to prevent. Since January 2025, that is when Trump came in office, FEMA has been under the leadership of individuals lacking legal qualifications, Senate approval, and the demonstrated background required of a FEMA administrator. Decisions made by FEMA's senior official performing the duties of the administrator, David Richardson, former SOPDA Cameron Hamrin, and Secretary of Homeland Security Kristen Noem, erode the capacity of FEMA and our state, local, tribal, and territorial partners, hinder the swift execution of our mission, and dismiss experienced staff whose institutional knowledge and relationships are vital to ensure effective emergency management. And then they go on to list 6 different gripes they have with FEMA and what the Trump administration is doing with FEMA. For example, we oppose the reduction in capability of FEMA to perform its mission. Number 2, we oppose the ongoing failure to appoint a qualified FEMA administrator as required by law. Number 3, we oppose the elimination of life and cost-saving risk reduction programs. 4, we oppose interference with preparedness programs that build capacity for our SLTT partners. 5, we oppose the censorship of climate science, environmental protection, and efforts to ensure our communities have access to information, resources, and support. We oppose the reduction of FEMA's disaster workforce. So clearly, these people have a serious issue with the way Trump and his administration are handling FEMA right now. And they're putting out a clarion call for Congress to do something about it and putting all of us on notice to be prepared for what could be another Katrina if a hurricane hits this season or next season. All right? So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the CDC and the issues that it is having. I'm going to go to another article. And this article says, Trump administration CDC in crisis. Who are the top officials resigning or being forced out? All right, let's read a little bit of this. A dispute over the dismissal of Susan Monterez, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, has intensified, with her attorneys asserting she will not leave unless the president himself takes action. Monterez was officially removed late on Wednesday following a heated exchange in which the U.S. Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., attempted to oust her, according to the White House. Her lawyer has countered that Monterez has no intention of resigning. Okay? As she was confirmed by the Senate, unlike previous CDC directors, Monterez technically serves at the will of the president, so Kennedy alone may not have had the authority to terminate her. Monterez, an infectious disease expert, was sworn in just a month ago by Kennedy, but soon found herself at odds with him over vaccine policy, according to individuals familiar with the matter. Now, let me point out, she's an infectious disease expert. Kennedy has no expertise in this space. Zilch. Nada. No expertise in this space. Yet he's trying to tell the experts what to do, which is why, again, I wouldn't trust anything whatsoever this guy has to say about medicine. Nothing. And then I would ask her a question. Why did you take the job, Dr. Monterez, if you knew you would be reporting to Kennedy, who has no expertise? You knew that, or she knew that before she took the job. So why in the world would she take the job knowing there was going to be conflict? Perhaps she thought that she could work through it or convince him or change his mind or something, live under those circumstances, practice medicine under his supervision or whatever. I don't know. But clearly it was not the right thing to do. And it can affect all of us because COVID is still around. Vaccinations for other communicable diseases, public health diseases are around. And this guy has an issue with vaccinations based on science that has been refuted time and time again. And I'm a little bit familiar with this. I, in college, majored in chemistry. I was a chemist for a while, practiced chemistry, taught chemistry. So I respect science. And to have people like this in place over science, who is not a scientist, is crazy to me. I mean, it's just crazy. It makes no sense. If Kennedy came in and said, hey, we're going to see what we can do with the food industry to get them to produce more healthier foods and stop highly processing all the, most of the food to make profits, then okay, we can get with something like that. But to put him over all of HHS and then to allow him to meddle with vaccinations and diseases and pandemics and all of that is just crazy to me. Just crazy. So that's why I said earlier and I reassert, stick close to your primary care physician. First, make sure you got one, and then stick very close to their advice. And of course, make sure they're not a supporter and fan of RFK Jr. I think I would find another PCP. So this is really serious. And so it says here, let me just read the rest of this. In the wake of her removal, 4 senior CDC leaders abruptly resigned, apparently out of frustration with Kennedy's approach to vaccines and his management style. Folks, it is pandemonium in the CDC. It is in chaos. It's in a crisis. There's mayhem. So therefore, we got to do what we need to do to protect ourselves. I'm not a physician. I can't offer you specific advice, which is why I am strongly encouraging you to pick up your phone this coming Tuesday, and even sooner than that if you have an emergency. But at least Tuesday, and ask your PCP if you can consult with him or her, maybe get a physical, discuss with your PCP what's happening at the CDC, get her guidance or his guidance as to what you should do, and so on. And that's especially true if you are an African American or some other member of a marginalized community. All right. So this is really, really important. And I knew I had to bring you this story just to put you on alert. If you live in an area that is prone to natural disasters or man-made disasters, then get prepared, because if something goes down, FEMA may not be there to help you or may not have the capacity to help you. So pile up. All right. And with the CDC, as I just said, the thing I would do is I would consult a lot with my PCP. All right. I am Reverend Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. Thank you for watching this video. And always stay woke.